Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. Hey, welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the Coach Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball. Today, one of my very best friends in coaching and just in life, Debbie Antonelli is our guest. Debbie is in 3 Hall of Fames. 3 weeks ago, inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield. North Carolina State, former player, Hall of Fame player there. The Women's College Basketball Hall of Fame, inducted a couple of years ago. But Debbie Antonelli is, and I'm not gender specific, absolutely one of the best broadcasters in all of basketball. Men, women. I love listening to her on a men's game. If she's doing a Duke game, I love her on the NCAA men's March Madness games. I love her watching an Indiana Fever game in the WNBA. She is spectacular. She does 100 games a year on broadcasting. That's why she goes into the Hall of Fames because she's one of the best broadcasters in the world. She has, I think, done so much to develop the growth of the women's game. But I find her, as someone that I've been close to for years, one of the smartest basketball people. We sit and have conversations for hours about basketball and coaching. It's absolutely brilliant discussion. She loves the women's game. She loves basketball. She loves people. It's funny, I do a lot of speaking in the off season to college men's and women's teams all over the country. And when I go in, I always say, have you had anyone else in? And about half of the places I've been going to, they say, oh, Debbie Antonelli's been coming in to work with our players on how to brand themselves and how to communicate, especially now with media interviews. She is absolutely one of the best of all time that I've been around. I think you're really going to get some insight into her great knowledge about basketball and really about every part of it. But I want she is a subject matter expert on the women's game. And having done Caitlin Clark's games, been so close to her for years, and then doing her first year in the pros with Indiana, she has insight that very few people in the game have. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So after a quick timeout from our sponsors, we'll be back with the great Debbie Antonelli. We're thrilled to have our longtime partners and friends at Dr. Dish Basketball on board as sponsors of the Coaching You podcast. Dr. Dish machines are undoubtedly the most user-friendly and advanced machines in the world of basketball today. Dr. Dish has completely revolutionized and reimagined the shooting machine to provide the best solution on the market. Join top programs around the world like Duke, North Carolina, Florida, and countless others and upgrade your shooting machine to Dr. Dish. Dr. Dish machines are the best way to increase purposeful reps in your program to get players better, faster, while tracking progress along the way. Dr. Dish provides so much more than just your standard shooting machines with custom training, pro trainers, and coaches on demand. real-time and detailed analytics, and top-of-the-line drills and workouts. If you're looking to take your program to the next level, look no further than Dr. Dish for the best basketball training machine in the world. If you have an old machine that's just collecting dust in your gym, did you know that you can trade that in to Dr. Dish for up to $1,500 off and get a new dish? Make sure to give our friends at Dr. Dish a follow at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter and Instagram for great daily drills, workouts, tips, and inspiration. Or contact us at drdishbasketball.com. Don't forget to mention Coaching You or our podcast for $300 off your purchase. Coaches, are you looking to take your game preparation to the next level? Then Fast Model Sports is the perfect coaching software for you. With FastDraw, build an organized library of plays and drills and create professional playbooks to share with your players and staff. You can also download over 9,500 free plays and drills from our Playbank directly to your FastDraw account. Looking for a better way to build your scouting reports and want to include video? With FastScout, build custom scouting report templates to prepare your team best for each individual opponent. Plus, did you know with the latest updates from Fast Model Sports, you can now include video with your FastScout reports and share with your coaches and staff all within the FastScout mobile app. The combination of FastDraw and FastScout is by far the best way for you and your coaches to create winning game strategies and effectively communicate them to your team. Over 10,000 high school and youth coaches trust Fast Model Sports products to help their teams reach their goals. To order, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw or FastScout products. Remember, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw and FastScout products. My guest today, the great Hall of Famer, Debbie Antonelli. Debbie, welcome, my friend. So great to be with you.
Brendan, I love seeing you. I love being a part of anything that you have your fingers on. You're just such a great friend, and I'm glad to see you.
Well, since I'm trying to think when our last podcast we did, but I know now at least 3 Hall of Fames, girl. Since 22. I mean, the NC State where you played, incredible. And your great friend and mentor, Kate Yao, who my buddy Bob Starkey adores and stuff, and all you guys have done for her, and her foundation and stuff, and then the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, which is just a monstrous accomplishment, and then just a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, just going into the Naismith Hall of Fame, the greatest Hall of Fame in the world in basketball, so deserving to be the recipient of so many great broadcasters getting that Kurt Gowdy Award. Congrats. You deserve it.
Well, it's not something you set out thinking that you're ever going to attach your name to or be a part of, that's for sure. But thank you for your kind words, and all of it is very overwhelming. I mean, I'm just doing my job and doing what I love and trying to serve as best I can inside the game. And it's really nice that people recognize that it's worth something or it's helped benefit somebody. And I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
You're what in the corporate world, you're what we call an SME, subject matter expert, and on so many things, but on basketball in general. But I don't know of anyone in this great game that is more of an expert on women's basketball than you. And this part of our game is the most exciting to me because I just think this is the ultimate growth in our game right now. And anywhere we have any growth areas in the game, a couple of things always have to happen. The coaches have to really get good because the coaches teach the players and then they get better. And then along with that, the referees have to get better because they're all an integral part of the game. And I think when we do that, we have an incredible game. But I was so excited this year living in Baton Rouge with LSU here, with Kim here, what she's done with the LSU program since she came. Every basketball season is exciting with the women's game. We have dynamic players. She's really brought women's basketball in Baton Rouge to an incredibly high level. And I just think that now, and then seeing what's happened in the NCAA tournament with Caitlin Clark the last couple of years and Angel Reese and all those guys, it's really made the game and the platform of women's games so big, and you've been a huge part of it. Tell me what, like I said to you the other day, we could probably do, a docuseries just on that women's game. But tell me some of your thoughts on it and where this game is going.
Well, I never thought in my lifetime the women's tournament would outrate the men's tournament. I just never thought that could ever happen. It was not something I thought about. I have coined the phrase Clarkonomics. It's an economic term. It's valid and real. You can point to any statistic, measure of attendance or ratings or corporate investment in the game. The way people consume women's basketball has changed. There's more people consuming it, whether they're going to the games or watching it on TV, watching it however they watch. Social media has had a lot to do with that. The landscape and the timing of NIL and the transfer portal has definitely helped the women's game. But Caitlin is the ultimate disruptor in the history of our game. We've never had a player disrupt the economic marketplace like she has. And it's not just the brands that she represents or the amount of visibility she gets because of her brands or the amount of money that she makes because of her ambassadorship. It's what I said about the way people are consuming the sport, and it's great. I'm so excited. I felt like all summer with the Indiana Fever, which was my 19th season with them, it was pure joy and happiness in the arena. I don't know if I've ever felt that before. Everywhere we went, not just in Indianapolis, but everywhere we went, you could see the excitement and the pure joy and love of the game on the fans and little girls and little boys. And I got to believe that every little girl and little boy who's wearing a Caitlin Clark jersey is in their driveway emulating Caitlin Clark. And that has got to help our game continue to grow. And that is pointing us in the right direction. So we're trending in the right way. And we just need everyone to align as a stakeholder to make sure they're doing their part, no matter what part you play. Whether it's a coach, a player, a referee, a broadcaster, somebody that has some marketing and promotional responsibility around our game, everyone has a responsibility now to make sure that this isn't just a moment in time or just a spike, that we have a movement now carrying us forward into the future. And I take that responsibility very seriously. I always have. And I think it's even more so now incumbent on all of us to make sure we're aware of how we're managing the game in our own platforms.
If you could put your commissioner's hat on, I don't want you to take Kathy's job, but, in the WNBA, to me, one of the things is we need more teams, of course.
Yes. But
we have a lot of good college players, and I mean really good college players, that there's no place for them to go if they don't make a team. I mean, first-round picks, second-round picks getting cut, after a week of training camp because and we don't have a G League for them, which I really think we need. Even if it's a 4-team G League, just to have a place where these girls can play and develop and get called up if they need it during the summer months. I just think that the game is going so quickly. And then when you see guys like Pat Mahomes say, I want a WNBA team in, Kansas City, he and his wife, I think it's fabulous. When the WNBA first came in, I was in Orlando coaching the Magic, and we had the Miracle down there, and Carolyn Peck was our first coach. And I remember we had our league tryout camp there that I was actually part of because they didn't have an infrastructure. And the franchise didn't survive there after a few years. But now they want a team down there again. Isn't that funny? I just think it's hysterical, Yeah. And but I just think, but what do you see as some areas that they can really, really? This is not to be critical, to just enhance the game. You're a visionary, I always felt. So what could they do to keep this thing trending upwards?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that, since we're just throwing out and spitballing ideas here, right? It's not that I have all the answers. I certainly don't. But I do think about things around our game, and I have experienced a lot of different areas in our game. So, Kathy Engelbert has a huge economic brain around our game. That's the way she sees the game. I mean, you can't be the CEO of Deloitte and not think about all the economics that come with it. I'd like to see some transparency in the numbers. The players opting out of the CBA and the education that comes with understanding what they're worth. Did the league lose $40 million? How much did the charter flights cost? Where did all that money come from? I think the owners now, because they've taken a loss for so long, see some popularity in the game, want to make sure they're getting their fair share now. So transparency in the numbers and the ability to effectively communicate and educate everyone around what are the right decisions there? I think that's one thing that I would like to learn more about. The second thing is, Brendan, if we've got franchises or groups out there that want a team, why are we waiting? If you got $100 million, let's do it. Because how many times are we going to have an expansion draft? And how does that affect
125 million each of the last 4 franchises have gone for? That's incredible.
That's amazing. So let's build out the infrastructure if we need to get it bigger or in the right model. And if there's a Houston or a Charlotte or an Orlando, or I've heard Des Moines, I've heard Denver, I've heard all these places that want a franchise and they have the capital and they have $100 million, why are we waiting? Because to me, the valuation has gone up, but the valuation could go the other way too. And I'm just concerned about the players for free agency. And if we have an expansion draft every year, I don't know how that would work. I would take the new teams. I'd put all those new teams in one conference. And you say G League. I just say put them in a conference. Let them play the majority of their games against each other. And then you don't have to play New York and Vegas 4 times. Just play them twice. Play amongst yourselves till you get your brand and your teams better. And then you can merge the schedule a little bit better. But that's what I would consider doing. That's one thought.
I've never heard of something like that before. But that way you don't go, they're going to 44 games, I think, next year. You don't go 8-36, which can happen as an expansion team. Easily.
If that's going to happen with expansion teams, and you really want to help set them up for success. So let them play against each other, and let them play a couple games outside with the established franchises and see if we can grow it that way. That would be something that I would consider.
What is the salary cap right now per team?
Oh, I think it's around 1.2 maybe.
That's what because I 2 years ago I had our president of the Las Vegas Aces as one of my speakers at a Coaching U. And I remember 1.2 million was the amount that Nikki told me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, for your whole league? Right. I mean, for each team? I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm not very good in math, but I do know camp math. And I'm saying, 11, 12 players, it's $100,000 a player. That's absurd. And then you can give the best player $278,000. And then Caitlin gets 78 or 76. I mean, I agree with you. If you as a previous owner, and I'm not going to name teams, you can't afford it, then you need to sell it or bring in someone that can, because charter flights are, all these girls charter in college to go to games, every one of them. And I just think that they got to do something. I'm not going to get into the refereeing. Neither will you, because But no. I watched every single playoff game on TV, WNBA. I haven't watched an NBA game yet this year, but I watched every playoff game, and I was riveted for the 5 games in the finals. And
so good.
So good.
Wow. 4 of the 5 were 1 possession games. And overtime. And,
you really see, in the finals, you saw 2 really great coaches and you saw some great players. And I had no idea Collier was that great a player. She's my favorite. Outside of Caitlin, she's my favorite WNBA player. She's just a completely all-around player. And I love the way they play. I love their team, the way they coach and everything, But it was big time. It was fabulous stuff. I loved it. So as you're doing 80 games a year, Debbie, and you're doing, what's the breakdown now for you, women's versus men's games?
Well, the college space is about 50-50 now.
That's what I thought.
We're, I still have the CBS first and second round of the men's tournament. This will be my ninth year, which is really, really amazing. Still, what a fun to be a part of the best sporting event in the world. I think that's really great. I have a heavy ACC men in the past. I have not received my schedule for this year. I'd assume it would be some of that, but I also think I might move around a little to the SEC and the Big 12 and get, those leagues, because ESPN does not have, as you know, the Big 10 or the Big East. But I personally really enjoy watching Big East basketball. I think there's something about those environments and the way they play. A lot of 4-out, 5-out, fives that can shoot the three, fives that can blow up ball screen coverage and all that. I really find that fascinating.
What you do in the off season, you do a lot of, or in the preseason, really, a lot of seminars with players and teams on teaching them how to communicate. And I think nowadays, for everything these kids are, that because they're their own brand, and you teach them the 4 B's of communication. Can you share those with our audience?
I created just a little template for players so they can have a comfort level when they're in any sort of media environment or public speaking or interviewing for a job. The first B is body language. The second B is brag on a teammate. I described that it's never about you, it's about your team, and how to frame some of that so that you build good synergies and good chemistry on and off the floor. And then the third B is no BS, and everybody knows what that is. And I talk about keeping your business in line and no BS on your social media. And then the last B is brand. And I do an exercise with the teams that's about their team ego, not necessarily their individual ego, and what they want their team ego to be. How do you want teams, or how do you want people to perceive the way they play? Because you draw a lot of parallels watching teams through their body language, how they communicate, which is not just what they say, and keeping their focus so they don't have any BS, and then what that means from a branding standpoint. So it's a fun exercise. I enjoy doing it. I've been all over the country doing it, and it's just not something I advertise. It's word of mouth. Coaches tell me.
I mean, I followed you at many schools where they say, "Oh yeah, Debbie was here last week," and I said, "Oh, well, you got the right person there." And you know what? I think it's one of the most needed things, at every level of sport. I don't care if it's football, basketball, it doesn't matter. But it's really because now these kids are mini businesses if they're really good at it, and they're a brand. And yeah.
Brendan, we know because we've been around for a while. I mean, you're always going to be on a team, and no matter whether it's your workforce or your family or the teams that you're on or your neighborhood, you're always going to be on a team. And there are a lot of parallels that people, when you go past basketball and you go into the real world to get a job, that there are a lot of things that people enjoy about those that have been a part of a team, because there's certain parallels that they draw from that. And I'm just trying to help them see it from a different perspective, and what they say, not just with the words they use, but how they use their body language to communicate what that means to a fan, or what that might mean to a corporate person. Now that we have investment, especially in the women's game, we have more people coming with interest and savvy and want to know, and they read a lot about your body language. And I think you can, impact your future that way.
That was the first thing when you were giving me the 4 B's. I'm saying all this stuff works in the corporate world. They love this stuff. It's fabulous. I think it's great. So when you're watching and doing all of Caitlin Clark's games in Indiana this year, what things stood out? Because the first thing that was insane to me is how this woman could go through a full season of the most pressurized profile in the history of basketball. I'm not sure since anyone I've watched, and men's side or whatever. Then a week later they say, oh yeah, now you're going to play 40 games on the women's side, which is pure insanity. And then oh yeah, let's make sure we give them the worst effing schedule in the league to start out with. I thought she handled it. I mean, most guys in the NBA would have exploded with all the crap that was going on. She handled it like a champ, I thought, But what were the things basketball-wise, forget how she handled things as a human, that really make her stand out, things that she did in college, but now she can do in the pros, to you?
Yeah, well, you're right about her incredible focus, not saying the wrong thing one time, taking the high road in every instance. I mean, she did not slip up once. And you're right about, you would think at some point a 22-year-old kid might crack, and she never did. Yeah. I think it speaks a lot to her upbringing and, who she has as a support team around her. But from a basketball standpoint, I thought her change of pace, her vision, those are things that immediately come to mind. Her step back and her logo threes obviously put her on the map, but it's the other things, never underrated. I don't know why people ever said it was undervalued or underrated. It was never underrated on the college level. I mean, she led the nation in assists.
Right.
So, she always saw the game. I think there was never a struggle. There was an adjustment. And it wasn't just her adjustment at the beginning of the season. It was everyone else's. Kelsey Mitchell had always played with the ball. Now she's playing off the ball. There's an adjustment there. Sure. Aaliyah Boston is always, long roll to the rim. Now she's short roll, making decisions, catching the ball, looking at the top of the floor, playing in the shoot. Like all those things I thought were fairly new for her at this level, at a high level, like the speed and everything that was coming at her as well. So I always looked at it as not a struggle, but an adjustment. And it wasn't just Caitlin's. So I always felt that Caitlin was going to figure out that adjustment. And then you saw as the season went on, the blitzes and the double teams and the traps started to go away because she managed them so well. She's so good at stretching those. And I think the pace and the length, because of the schedule, because they were playing early on, the toughest defensive and the longest defensive teams. And I understand why a lot of people say the WNBA had the schedule in place before and all that. I think she was purposely in those windows because it was a media rights year, and they were trying to make sure they put her in the ABC windows, and you put your best product up front, and that's what they did. They put the best teams up front with Caitlin, and it worked. I mean, they got a huge media rights.
Huge deal. I think I'm trying to think back of 45 years in the NBA. I don't know if I've seen Magic is the only guy that throws the ball ahead on the fast break perfectly like she does. Usually guards want to dribble the ball up. She passes that ball ahead, and she passes it like she's in the NFL, right on the money.
Exactly.
I don't know if I've seen players that can do that.
It is definitely a touchdown. It is seeing the play before the play happens, passing it before they're actually open. I mean, just the ability to see all 9 players all the time. That's one of her great skills. I didn't hear many describe it that way. I described it like that a lot this summer. She can see all 9.
That's a great.
One of the things I learned from you. Out butt to the sideline, eyes up to the rim, and you could see everybody. Her peripheral vision is so good.
Yeah, and I think we have it on the men's college game and the women's college game. The pro game on both sides is a different sport. From the rules to the athletes and the coaching. And so even though the college coaches are great coaches, the style is different. But I thought once she adjusted it and figured it out, there was no stopping. And the Olympic break was really good for her.
Yeah, it was good for the whole team. They all
Yes.
came back,
Yep.
I think Caitlin is a tremendous teammate. I don't know if she gets enough credit for that. I think she's young. She's 22, and
Isn't
she's
that
been
amazing?
thrust into the spotlight just because she worked really, really hard on her skill. And because she worked really hard on her game and her skill, people started to pay attention. And it just launched her into a whole other category. She didn't ask for it, but she has handled it. And I can't say that she would go back and do anything differently. Watching her and knowing her, I think she's an incredible kid, really incredible kid.
That's great. It's great to hear,
understands.
because that's the image I have without knowing her,
Yeah.
which is cool. Let me ask you about, we have we had 7, 8, maybe including Golden State, coaching openings this year in the W. As a Title IX advocate, we don't want to see anyone lose their job and anything. But part of pro sports, it's a bottom line, results-oriented, outcome-based business. And I found it interesting that all of a sudden they were making coaching changes at an alarming rate. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was a little surprised, although I will say it is a business and the bottom line is important. I think for a long time we were playing with monopoly money and we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
And I do think the owners want a return on their investment. I think maybe early on when the league was launched, it was maybe a good write-off or a loss leader for companies that, needed something in their portfolio that was different. But now I think because there is an opportunity for incredible prosperity and there is some richness around what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we're going to go backwards. I think there'll be times where it might ebb and flow a little bit, but we're certainly not going to go backwards. And the investment is there. I just read a story about, with all the changes that, the Indiana Fever made with, that's my franchise that I follow the closest, from Kelly Krauskopf coming back, who's an incredible builder and leader, that, the Fever are not just a brand in the W, they're a worldwide global brand. 50% of the people that came to Indiana Fever games at home were from out of state.
Jeez.
And 50 different countries were represented by those who bought tickets. So when you think about the global enterprise that the W has an opportunity, and I know Adam Silver has been looking at expanding, to overseas. I mean, who knows? I mean, there could be some really big time thinking that could take place that could launch this into a whole other level. And I also saw a number too, Brendan, that I think corporate America was spending somewhere between 6 and 8% on women's sports, and now it's somewhere between 12 and 18. So we have made a jump, which to me would be a significant jump if you're doubling that number. But we still see we have so much farther we can go.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get there, and I'm so excited about it.
One of my concerns on the coaching angle is that, because obviously that's my business of coaching, study it, every sport worldwide, is our highest paid women's basketball coaches are in the women's college basketball circle. Mm-hmm. From our great friend Dawn Staley to Kim, fabulous. And they're getting what they deserve, totally. And I'm wondering, where is the W going to get high level coaching to be able to coach these fabulous players? And that's where I want to see happen. Just the idea of the aces, two assistants getting head coaching jobs, I think proves my point. And they're both great, Tyler, and they're fabulous. So I think Natalie and them, I think they're great. But and Stephanie leaving Connecticut to go back to Indiana, fabulous. So, but to get all these, and then the expansion teams, I think that's a concern that we have to figure out, where is the next wave of coaching coming. And that's any ideas or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think if you're picking apart those situations, right? Like both Natalie and Tyler have worked in the NBA before. Becky
Right.
has worked in the
That's
NBA.
how I know both of them. Right.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's a really interesting trend, right? Because the greatest basketball in the world is in the NBA. And if we can learn from the NBA, everything has a pass through, right? From the NBA to W,
Absolutely.
maybe into college game, into the women's game. Because we've had this conversation before. I enjoy what you do because it's a level of vernacular or concept that it gives me a way of describing it in game that helps me be a better teacher, educator, entertainer around the game.
Right.
Um, I think I'm looking at people like those that have had an NBA influence in some way. Christy Tolliver, Lindsey Harding, those that have been at franchises where they've had an NBA understanding. Stephanie calling the NBA on ESPN. You're around the NBA culture. It
I
matters.
love it.
I think all of that is, and then I would be remiss if I didn't point to Nate Tibbetts, the head coach at Phoenix,
Yep.
who did a remarkable job. I think he extended Diana Taurasi's career based on the way he used her and the concepts that he used her in. I mean, she was more drags and pass throughs in the middle third than she was pin downs and staggers, below the free throw line, which is a little bit less physicality, right?
Yep.
So I think when I looked at what Nate was doing and how he was running things for Diana, I thought, wow, he got a lot of heat at the beginning because he had not coached in the women's space. But I think we're going to get past that. And I think there are going to be people that, like yourself, I know you have talked to me a lot about your interest and how much you love the women's game. I mean, we'd be crazy not to take advantage of personalities that want to get involved, especially now. I don't care if your people are late to the party. I just want you to come because we're having a hell of a time.
Your fellow board member with Kay Yao's foundation, Bob Starkey, my neighbor and friend here, he told me years ago I said, Bob, I'm infatuated with the women's game. And, he started on the men's side with Dale Brown here at LSU. And I said to him, he said, Brendan, coaching is coaching. It's not coaching women. It's coaching basketball. And I think that is the greatest thing. And that's why Nate will be very successful because he has huge credibility just coming from coaching the Magic, and coaching other teams, But I think, it's about, and if you get some men coaches in there, NBA guys, bring in some fabulous young women to teach them, and let them succeed you and stuff like that, develop them. And, Lindsey Harding spoke at coaching you this year. One of the best presentations we've ever had. I chased her down for 2 months to do it. She said, I'm not worthy. I said, yes, you are. The next day she was hired by JJ Redick.
Yeah, right.
She said, how'd you know? I said, I had no idea that JJ was as smart as he says he is, but he's smart as hell to hire you. And I just think that, there's so many talented women out there, so many talented young coaches. And to give them that little chance to get that and develop them, I think that it's the rising star of our game right now. I think it's got some real juice in it, and I think it's exciting. And I'm agreeing with you. I'd have 20 damn teams in that league as soon as I could get them. I would, because you're right. You never know what's going to happen with the economy, with everything else in the world. But I'll tell you what, and I think Caitlin Clark, if I was running that league, I'd make her like Manchester United. I'd have the Indiana Fever traveling around the world in the off season, and people would be packing stadiums to see him. And other teams.
I really do.
And other teams, Lynx and freaking Liberty, incredible teams.
Yeah.
And of course, what Becky has done with the Aces is incredible. And Becky's a great example. She was when I was with the Knicks with Isaiah, she was playing for the Liberty, and Isaiah and I would talk to her every day. And just from talking to her, and she was a player, Isaiah and I used to say, she's smart enough to be on our team. She's brilliant. She's so brilliant.
Yeah.
And
she is.
Yeah. And, years ago when she was with Pop with the Spurs, I had her speak at Coaching U. And, and people like that, it's not about women coaching or men coaching. It's about basketball coaching. She's the best and the brightest. Well, we have a whole league of that kind of stuff, and I think that's what's really cool. What do you think, Debbie, about women's college game this year? What are some of your favorite teams?
Wow, I mean, we are loaded, Brendan. That's the
what
big
I think.
part. I mean, I don't think we'll have any undefeated team. I'll say that.
Sure.
And I thought that before South Carolina got a little bit of a scare against Michigan. I think every night it's going to be great. We have so many competitive races in the top conferences, which is going to really be fun. I think all the top leagues are going to have 2 or 3 losses. I don't really see anybody sweeping their league. I'd be shocked,
Sure.
except for UConn. They're going to win their league, and they're going to be a Final Four contending team once again. They're always
My
in
man Gino.
I mean, amazing. Like I always say, 40 minutes of execution and discipline, and if they stay healthy. I also have my hot take this year is that Paige Beckers is going to lead the nation in scoring. Gino's never had a player that's done that. They've never had that in their
right?
But I think he's been talking and she's been saying how much more assertive she's going to be, how much more aggressive she's going to be. And I think that's going to result in her averaging 27, 28 points a game. She was already at 21. So if she takes a few more shots with her efficiency level, I can easily see her leading the nation in scoring, which would be something new for Coach Auriemma. I like Texas. Vic Schaefer with Roy Harmon back, Madison Booker on All-American length and competitive toughness on the defensive end. Every possession, that's hard to go against every night. Of course, South Carolina. I had Notre Dame with Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo. This is a team that's not healthy right now. They're missing a couple of significant pieces. Hopefully they'll get them back before they get to conference play, but they have a daunting schedule. And I'll say this, I want to give some props to all the women's coaches for lining up these tough competitive matchups early because we need it for the women's game. It's almost like, we're coming off the college season and the W's at an all-time high, and then we go right into the college space. And on the women's side, we're playing all these top 10, top 15 games. I think it's so good. It's so great because it keeps the momentum going. And at this time, typically, as you know, with college football, people really don't start paying attention, but we're keeping a focus on the game by playing these top matchups. In Southern Cal, all these teams that we've seen early playing this tough competition are all going to get better. UCLA looked good. Louisville looked good. NC State I've seen. Their guards, their backcourt is back from their Final Four run, and you can't have enough guards. So LSU, I could keep going. The health of these teams is so pivotal. Like, we need all these players to stay healthy because we need them. They definitely drive the box office. I call them ticket selling players. Mm-hmm. We need it. We need them. So I'm pulling for everybody to stay healthy. And I love the competitiveness of our season.
Yeah, it's such a big thing in a women's game because we have so many great players that unfortunately get leg injuries every year. And it just breaks my heart when I see that because they're so freaking good and stuff. What do you think of Angel Reese this year? You got to see her a lot. She exceeded all my expectations, having seen her a lot here. Not that she rebounded the ball. She was my Moses Malone of college basketball. She half of her rebounds are her own missed shots, but she showed big time personality and some toughness and all. And she's really something else, man. I was really surprised.
Yeah, I think first of all, her motor is exceptional.
Yep.
So when you have a specialist like that, whether it's Moses Malone or it's Dennis Rodman, right. Somebody who just goes to the glass every time and you just can't keep them off. Most of her fouls I thought were box out fouls or fouls around the rim trying to carve out space. And I'm good with that. I love it. I love that she plays with that kind of energy. She knows she needs a perimeter game. I think she'll continue to work on it. I mean, if she gets that, square up, one dribble from the three-point line, pull up mid-range, or one dribble all the way to the rim, which I know she'll be capable of doing, man, it's going to be hard to stop. I mean, it's just going to be hard to guard her. And I think she knows that. She knows that's the next evolution. But her numbers, you can't sleep on what she did. That's for sure. To have the consecutive double-double mark and to lead the league in rebounding, that's just amazing. I'm anxious to see what will happen this year when she moves away from the bucket. Because even at 15 feet on the elbow, nobody was guarding her. You have to be guardable from there. And I think she'll improve all that.
Interesting, because I thought Cardozo would be a bigger factor. You know, I know she got hurt a little bit and stuff. But Angel Reese, to me, she really, in essence, could have been the second pick in the draft almost behind Caitlin as far as efficiency from the league play. Am I wrong on it?
No, I think, Cardoso has such incredible size. Cardoso would be what I would call a rim runner, drop back, put back, lob catcher. Okay, so you'd have to make her make a post move. And in college, you couldn't keep her from getting deep position. She was so big and strong. In the W, they can push her up the lane a little, off the lane, and she'll develop a better post-up game. Left, right, score around the rim with a little bit more fluidity. I can definitely see that coming for her. I definitely think that Angel has that. She's got a lot of swooping shots, like those swooping things around the rim. I think they're hard to guard, and you really can't block that stuff. So Angel has perfected what her skill set has allowed her to do. Now she's got to expand that a little bit, and I know she will. And I think
players do as each year. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the new 3-on-3 league, the Breanna Stewart concept? I think it sounds great to me.
I'm really, really excited about it. So at first, when I heard they were going to do that, the first thing that went to my mind was, I don't want to silo or fraction the investment in the women's game. We only have so much. Is this going to take away from the W? That was my initial thought.
Okay.
And then I love the concept. I love full court 3-on-3. I'm excited.
That's what I like.
That is exciting to me. And then when I heard that they went from 30 to 36 players, that means to me they've got to be having success because they have player equity in the league. That's something I talked about 20 years ago with the W, having equity in the league when the league I thought needed a boost. And to have that kind of investment and have a TV partner and
big
to be in Miami, it's a great thing for the players. I mean, I know they're excited about it.
Yeah, and they're going to. I think it's a freaking brilliant idea.
I do too. I'm excited for them. I can't
so
wait.
Breanna, who is her? Was it Collier as her?
It is. It's Leticia Collier. Yes.
She's pretty damn smart. That girl's smart, man. I'll tell you. I think it's good. Maybe you and I should coach those teams. That'd be good.
I'd love to.
Yeah, no, that'd be perfect. They probably don't want anything to do with coaches, those guys. So what will they have, 4 players on the team or 5? 5, I think.
I think it's 5, right?
5, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is smart in case someone gets hurt, foul trouble. Yep. 5 players on a team. I think it's just...
It's 10 weeks of action.
Starting around January, am I right on that?
I think it's starting in January, February. Yes, it'll go through, I guess, I don't know if it's ending before the NCAA tournament or if it bleeds into it. It's going to be close. I think it's going to bleed into it.
They got the talent. The W, that league's got the better players, so it'll be quite interesting. And if they got all the great players to play in it, I think it's brilliant. When I first saw it, I said, that's a silly idea. Then I said, oh my gosh, they got all the players.
3-on-3 are the concepts that we play in anyway. All the players will be in the same location, not having to travel internationally. Right?
Where is it going to be? Do you have any idea?
It's in Miami.
Oh, twist my arm. Yes. That is fantastic. What a freaking great idea.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Oh, no, I think it's great. So what do you think now as we're going into this season? I'm watching, you were the prelim to the Duke game last night on the ACC network, which was awesome. So you had so many viewers watching your game first. But have you gotten a chance to go up and see the wonderkind 17-year-old at Duke yet?
I haven't seen him in person yet, but honestly, I'm having his mother, Kelly Flagg, on my podcast this week.
Good for
And
you.
I'm very excited about talking to her about Cooper and Ace. And she played at Maine, and just to learn a little bit more about him and their family and their story. And I think it'd be fascinating. She is a college teammate of the University of Maine's head coach, Amy Vachon, who's a friend of mine. And because they were teammates, I'm having them both on my podcast. So I'm excited about getting up there to see him in person.
Oh, he's amazing. And just the idea of him still should be at Mount Verde in high school and doing what he's doing now, I think is just incredible. Just incredible.
I think Duke's really good. Malawach does a lot of things around the rim that allows the guards to do a lot of things that John Shire likes to do with his defense. And Con Knuppel, you can't sleep on that dude either. That kid's pretty darn good himself. I mean, this is going to be a fun team to watch.
Oh, I think they're way better than John's team last year. Not even close. And good for him, because I like John Shire a ton. I think he's a great guy, great coach. I think he's really going to be a good coach, and he's got a good staff there, and man, they can recruit. So I think it's great. Well, Debbie, I can't thank you enough for everything. You're my best. You're my bestie, and I love your family and everything, and appreciate Frank for allowing us to talk on the phone. I'm talking to Brendan. Relax, okay? But I appreciate you so much, and always love that, when you would come to Coaching You and stuff, because you would get the Lifetime Achievement Award as our greatest learner ever there, our greatest student. But I think it just shows who you are and stuff like that. And that's why our app now, you can have everything you want on there for you to watch all the time. All 500 of our coaches that are on our clinic over the years.
You've done such a remarkable job helping people like me learn. And I learn a lot from your stuff, because you have so many talented NBA and people with incredible experience around our game, and you can't stop learning. There's always things that you can learn. And I get a lot of vernacular from listening to you and your guests around how I want to teach and approach the game myself, and how I deliver it on the air. There's just
this past summer we had some really unique things happening, and what I've found, Debbie, is now that every clinic we do, no matter where it is, whether it's in the state of Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, we have in those state associations, half of the clinicians are women. Because the state associations are men and women coaches.
Right. And
some of the women coaches that we have at the college level, off the charts. Absolutely phenomenal. And we can track whose clinics our members are watching. Women are really, really men coaches are watching women coaches and learning from them, which I love. Absolutely love it. I'll go into a gym and I'll see a college men's team, Power 4 team, and I'll say, "Where'd you get that drill?" From your app. Who taught that? Special Jennings from Jacksonville University. She's got, I love that they're learning from women coaches. That's the ultimate part of growing the game, and that's what I'm excited about.
It's what you emphasize and how you communicate it. And I've learned so much from so many great leaders and communicators and teachers and coaches in the gym at practice, like you just said, that have helped me in other aspects of my life and the way I go about, making decisions, or how I go about managing my family, especially managing situations with my son, Frankie.
Sure.
It's helped tremendously in all the different meetings and the advocacy that I have to have or have chosen to do around him. So it's good. It's all good.
You used a term in your Hall of Fame speech, and I'll let you run on this and one other thing. Build, serve, and teach are three things that you kind of live by. Will you speak on that to our audience?
Yeah, build, serve, and empower are things that are three words that I use as my decision makers. Build is something that I want to be. I want to be a builder. I want to be constructive with my time. I want to use my resource wisely, and I want to make sure that the decisions that I'm making in any of my roles as wife, mother, basketball announcer or teacher or coach are all things that are building. And then serve is the greatest quality of a really good leader. My coach, Kay Yao, believed that. I learned that from her. And if you build and serve, if I do those things, I think I'll empower other people to do the same thing. So, on that comes with a positive attitude and, a willingness to try. All those things are inherent in that. But build, serve, and empower. If things aren't going my way, and we always have adversity and, everybody has it, I think about who did I help? Who did I serve? How did I build? What are the things that I did? And it helps me, correct my direction.
That is beautiful. I love that. Coaching is about is what I believe is taking people where they can't take themselves. And you do that every day. And that as a mom, as a wife, and as an analyst. So congrats to that. Last thing for you, for your own special cause. One of the great things that you do is raising money every year because you can shoot better than everyone else. It pisses me off. But talk about your Nothing But Net, how you shoot 24 hours. I think it's so fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, you
and my friends at Dr. Dish are one of your great teammates.
Those guys, I mean, what great teammates they are, right? Because they're teammates of yours as well. Dr. Dish, I remember having this conversation with you at the very beginning, and it was a conversation about, here's an idea, but the idea is 24 hours, Nothing But Net is a 24-hour free throw shooting marathon. I make 100 free throws on the top of every hour for 24 hours. So at the end of 24 hours, I've made 2,400. I've done this for 6 years. Year 7 will be May 10 and 11, 2025 in my driveway. But in the first 6 years, we are just under $1.1 million for Special Olympics, which I never thought I'd say or that would ever come out of my mouth. And my 6-year free throw shooting average is 94%. So I've had some hours where I've missed 0 or 1 or 2, and I've had some where I missed some double digits. This year, the last 3 hours were my worst 3 hours combined ever. So, the fitness and the training and all that for somebody who gets AARP mail is getting a little tougher, but I'm digging deeper, right? I'm just going to dig deeper. And my partners and your partner, Dr. Dish, I've told this story many times, Brendan. I know you know the story. When I turned 50, that's what I wanted for my birthday was a Dr. Dish. And my husband was like, most women want pearls or diamonds or a trip around the world. I want a shooting machine. Most 50-year-old women probably wouldn't ask for that, but I've used it in camps and clinics, and that was the purpose why I wanted it from the beginning. But then now it's officially the source of my training. And I am so grateful to the Dr. Dish guys for every year. Anyone who donates, no matter what amount you donate to 24hoursnbn.com is automatically eligible to win a dish. And I'm so grateful that guys let me give one away every year. It's really helped fundraising. Yeah,
Doug Campbell and his team are some of the best people I've ever worked with. Debbie, once again, if people want to donate, I want to make sure we get this. We'll put it in our show notes also.
Please, 24hoursnbn.com. It's the number 24hoursnbn.com. And if every listener would give 1 penny for every free throw I make, it's $24. I think everyone can do that. And honestly, the 1.1, I really shouldn't say 1.1, really, it's like 1.085. That amount of money is very much grassroots. It's a lot of 25s and 50s and 100s along the way. I don't have a major sponsor outside of Dr. Dish. So, I'm hoping that one day somebody will give me a big gift and it'll get me to the 2nd million faster, because I am what I say on TV. I'm literally going to shoot till my arm falls off till I can't do it anymore.
I love it. Debbie, you are the best. Have a great season, as you always do. My best to your family. And you're very special. If you come through Baton Rouge, let's get together.
You got it, man. Thank you. You're my brother, and I appreciate everything that you do for me. Thank you, Brendan.
I'm honored, Deb. Thank you much.